coming today to this month's community outreach meeting. Really appreciate your time and the sacrifice to come here for the next hour. We're really happy to have the Chief of the Chelsea Fire Department here with us to present this month. I will turn it over to the Chief.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. At Jen's request, we put together a little bit of a home safety series that's based around summer safety, but most of it applies year-round. There's a couple of components that are more specific to the summer months. So with that, I'll jump right into this for you. Obviously, as far as fire safety goes in the home, the most important thing you can do for your family is to have smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors, but we're going to take both topics separately. Smoke alarms in your home is the single most important thing you can do. You have less than a minute to safely get out of a building sometimes when there's a fire. Your smoke alarm needs to be functional. It needs to work. So if you have the type of smoke alarm that has a battery that needs to be changed, we always go with the slogan, change them when you change the clocks. So spring and fall, when the clocks jump ahead and jump back, that's the time to change the batteries in your smoke detector. We also recommend that you replace your smoke detectors with the new 10-year detectors. They're sealed units and they last for 10 years. But the single greatest thing you can do to protect your family is to have working smoke detectors. You need early detection. Fires today are spreading faster and faster than ever before, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we continue. But smoke detectors are super important. You can't take the batteries out when you're cooking because you activated it and forget to put them back in, and they only are valuable to you if the batteries are working. What you're going to see here is the reason why smoke detectors are so important. This is a comparison of home furnishings from 30 years ago and from today. And the natural materials that your couches and your pillows and your drapes and your rugs were fabricated, were made with and manufactured with 30 years ago plus were all natural cotton fibers. Today, most everything in your home is made of plastics and man-made materials. These man-made materials ignite faster, they burn hotter, and they spread faster. So this video here is going to demonstrate to you the difference between a legacy fire and a modern day fire. There's no sound, but the video basically speaks for itself. These two rooms are the exact same size, they just have legacy components versus modern day components. These fires were allowed to grow until flashover. What flashover is the point at which a content fire becomes full room involvement. And you'll see that. This is being sped up obviously for the purpose of time. But you see that a fire starts on the couch in both of these different scenarios. And what we're counting is how long is it going to take for that room to flash over, to become full room involvement. We're approaching 3 minutes in, and you can see how much worse the synthetic room is burning than the 30-year-old structure. Right now, this room is filled with superheated gases, toxic products of combustion. The temperature at the ceiling level is probably 1,500 degrees. If you're on the floor crawling out of there, you could probably survive if you know this is happening. But you're at just under 5 minutes. That fire is flashed over at 4 minutes and 50 seconds. This is the same room 30 years ago. That's a dramatic difference. This is going to take 20 minutes to flash over, maybe 28 minutes to flash over. So the difference is dramatic. It's dramatic. And this is why your smoke detectors, for one, are super important, because you have very, very little time to escape. This is 30 minutes in. Dramatic difference. So not only is it make it nearly impossible for you to escape during the night if you don't have smoke detectors, but you can also see how difficult it is for firefighters, how important it is for us to get there early and to get water on a fire as fast as possible. The dynamics have changed, our tactics have had to change, but that comparison right there will show you why it's so important that you have smoke detectors. Okay, let's see if I can get past this. There we go. All right, in this video, what you're going to see is both modern day rooms, but what you're going to see is the difference between a fire in a bedroom when you sleep with the door closed versus sleeping with the door open. Okay, you should always sleep with the bedroom doors closed. Most people probably think it's safer to sleep with the doors open. They can hear the kids or their parent in another room. But if a fire breaks out during the night, the safest thing you can do is to be in a room with a smoke alarm and the door closed. And this video will demonstrate why. This one does have sound.
That is insane.
In the event of a fire, who here thinks that you're safer sleeping with the doors open?
I keep them open because I was a mom for so long.
My kid's room is 2 doors down from mine, always open.
I'm not all that confident they would stop anything anyway. Harold, hey, Ben, nice to meet you. Harold, have a seat.
Hi, nice to meet you. Hello, right here?
Chris, how are you?
Great.
As you think about fire safety, what keeps you up at night?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned. I probably don't think about a fire for as much as I should because I do forget to turn things off often.
Have you ever been through one?
A fire? No.
We told you that you'd be coming here today for discussion, but what we didn't tell you is that there's also a demonstration we want to show you. Sound good? I want to introduce you to Steve, the director of the UL Firefighter Safety Research Institute. I'll let Steve take it away.
Welcome. My job is to lead a team of people that study how fire grows and spreads so we can keep you safe. Here at the Delaware County Emergency Services Training Center, we essentially turn this place into a laboratory. We've got several structures around here that we build to simulate where you live. And one of those structures is right here behind me. What I want you to do is I want to take you inside here, and I want you to see how this looks like your home. And then once we get you outside, we're going to go ahead and recreate what would happen if there was a fire in this structure right here. Look pretty normal? Yeah, got some furnishings. You'll notice the difference down here. As we walk down, this bedroom door will be closed, and the one at the end of the hall will be open. And what I want you to do is pay attention to comparison to the two of those, and think about you and your family trying to survive this fire. All right, we just hit the button, we have ignition.
Oh boy, there she goes. Oh man, that is scary.
It's scary, right? But we have smoke coming out over here.
What a lot of people don't realize is that the furnishings that are in our homes today are made of synthetic materials. So they burn so much faster than your old natural cotton-filled furnishings used to be. The statistics that we've seen through our research is in about 40 years ago, you had about 17 minutes to get out of your house after the smoke alarm sounded. Now you have less than 3 minutes.
Holy crap, see, this is the things that we were. Whoa.
That's that flashover that we just talked about.
Can you feel that? How do you survive that? Seriously, that is insane.
All right, go ahead, knock it down. All right, as you remember, closed door on the left, between the two with a simple closed door.
Impressive.
We want people to be as prepared as possible and understand the importance and how little time you have and what that simple barrier can provide to you and your family should you have a fire. I want you guys to throw some hard hats on and some safety glasses and at least poke your heads in the windows, or you can even walk in the hallway if you want.
Give me a word or phrase to describe what you just saw.
Anxiety.
Frightening.
Terrifying.
I really didn't expect anything like this.
That's a dramatic difference. So like we talked about, synthetic materials, the home furnishings, if you have a fire in your home, this is how important it is to repeat smoke detectors. You need early detection, you do not have a lot of time. And to practice sleeping with the door closed. That will provide protection, it will give you time. If you can't escape through your normal route, then at least you can get to a window and you have some barrier, some protection with a closed door. Let's see if we can get past that. The next thing is carbon monoxide detectors. The keys to carbon monoxide poisoning are it's odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Carbon monoxide is undetectable with your senses. The only way you will know there's carbon monoxide in your home is if you have a carbon monoxide detector. You need one on every floor. They should be outside your bedrooms and in the mechanical areas, whether it's basement, garage, you should have carbon monoxide detectors. Early detection of carbon monoxide is critical. Again, there's no warning that it's there. It's caused by incomplete combustion from heating equipment, but even in the summer, you could have an automobile running too close to a building. The exhaust could be too close to a basement window, where you could get carbon monoxide from the combustion of the engine pumped into a home. Generators are another cause of carbon monoxide poisoning. You have a generator running too close to the home, and the exhaust fumes can get into the home. So, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors can't express how dramatically important they are to the safety of your family. And a couple of carbon monoxide facts. A person could be poisoned by a small amount of carbon monoxide over a longer period of time. There's a cumulative effect to carbon monoxide poisoning. You want a carbon monoxide alarm that is UL tested. And again, you should test them once a month, and if they're battery operated, the batteries need to be changed every 6 months. Sometimes you hear a small chirp from your detectors. That's very occasional, like every several minutes. Normally that's a low battery detection. One last thing on smoke and carbon monoxide detectors is local detectors with the batteries are good for your bedrooms and local areas, but in newer construction and all of your common areas, they're tied together with hard wiring. Hardwired detectors still need batteries so that when you lose power that they work. So you have a hardwired detector that's chirping, you think, wait, it's powered, why is it chirping? It still has a battery backup, unless it's one of the newer sealed units. Cooking safety. Most of the fires that start in your home start around the kitchen area. Obviously, the single most important thing you can do is have a clean area, clear of debris when you're cooking. Keep children away from your cooking surface at least 3 feet. Never leave your food unattended. You see in this caricature here that there's a lid there. If you're cooking and you have food on the stove, especially if you're frying with oil, you know, whether you're deep frying or sauteing, you never leave the stove top. Never leave to run to the bathroom, leave to answer the phone. You get distracted very easily, and a flammable liquid fire, because that's what a grease fire is, it's a flammable liquid fire in your kitchen. It can spread rapidly. It's like pouring gasoline around your kitchen. So anytime you're cooking at the stove, you should stay at the stove. Don't leave your food unattended. If something catches fire in your presence, turn off the element, whether it's gas or electric, and slide a lid over it. That's all you need to do. Don't ever try to move it to the sink. Don't try to move it outdoors. You're going to be carrying flammable liquids. You'll burn yourself, and you're going to catch your home on fire. So it's very important for cooking safety. Most fires in the home start in the kitchen. People forget they had their food on, they leave, they fall asleep, they go answer the phone. Single most important thing you can do is have a lid and stay next to the kitchen area when you're cooking. Also, as part of your home safety plan, besides smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, besides cooking safety, is to have an escape route and a meeting place in front of your home. We've seen how fast these fires can burn and spread. You're not going to know if everyone got out unless you have a place to meet. So you should have a plan with your family and your neighbors to meet at a certain location so that you could tell that everyone is out of the building. Yes?
Is it advisable to have small fire extinguishers around, or is that just...
Oh, yes, absolutely. Having a multi-purpose dry chemical extinguisher in your home, absolutely, especially in the kitchen area.
Yeah.
If it does spread beyond what you can control with a lid, you can definitely expend an extinguisher. But what you should do is go with the lid first, call 911. A lot of times, people that are not used to operating extinguishers, they may delay calling the fire department trying to do that. So yes, extinguishers are very important. They're very good to have in your home. And if they're outside, what you can do with just sliding a cover, they're a great thing to have in the home, yes. But make sure it doesn't delay activation of the 911 system. And again, these escape routes are just to make sure that, hey, everybody's here, we got everybody out. You don't want, we don't want to show up and think that we're searching for victims that you guys know have already evacuated safely. Okay, so talking about some of the more modern dangers within your home. Lithium-ion batteries are everywhere. They're in your phones, they're in your computers, but now there's larger battery packs in what we call mobility devices. You'll see the lithium-ion powered scooters that delivery folks use and people just use for general transportation. They're in wheelchairs. They're more prevalent today than ever before. Lithium-ion batteries have a problem. They're energy efficient, they're good for the environment in a certain way, but when they catch fire, they burn rapidly, they give off toxic fumes, and fire spreads very quickly. This is a major problem in the city of New York right now because there's so many delivery people in the city that these mobile devices are everywhere. And people are coming home at night, they're taking them into their apartments, they're leaving them in stairways, and when they catch fire, you're going to see how dramatic it is. And we'll talk a little bit more, but I think this will give you a good idea.
Watch as two teenagers dangle 5 stories above ground, desperately trying to escape the inferno that engulfed their apartment at the Jacob Reese houses. The fire caused by several exploding batteries on e-bikes charging overnight.
This fire was caused by lithium-ion batteries from an e-bike. And in this apartment, there were at least 7 of these e-bikes.
Lithium-ion batteries are known for malfunctioning, but this? Flames could be seen shooting from the window as residents attempted to escape.
The intensity of this fire was such that it blew the windows out and actually blew a wall down within the apartment on top of the bed in which these teenagers were sleeping.
The video shows these 2 teens made it out alive. They are the lucky ones. One man is dead and a woman is clinging to life.
It was only because of their youth and athletic prowess and their ability to climb out a window and shimmy down a pipe that this fire was not even more tragic.
It's unclear whether the issue is with the battery itself or if aftermarket parts were in use. So far, the number of fires due to lithium-ion batteries is more than double this year over last. And that's before the Christmas holiday, when toys and scooters that rely on these types of batteries are traditionally hot-ticket items. Watch as 2 teenagers dangle.
So the single biggest cause of lithium-ion battery fires in mobile devices devices is incompatible charging devices, aftermarket chargers, or charging damaged equipment. So it's important to buy UL approved lithium-ion batteries in the products that you buy, and it's important to use the factory issued equipment to charge them. And if at all possible, don't charge them overnight. We have one more video on this topic that will definitely send home the message.
This demonstration shows what it looks like when a lithium-ion battery fails and sparks a fire, often because of faulty design or overcharging. Those batteries causing more than 200 fires in New York City alone last year, injuring 147 people and killing 6. And look at this battery catching fire and exploding next to a child.
Startup charge in 5, 4.
We met with researchers in Pennsylvania to see what happens when a lithium-ion battery is purposely overcharged and fails, starting a fire. We are here with Steve Kerber. He is with UL's Fire Safety Research Institute. So Steve, we're actually inside of a home built to burn.
We study how fire grows and spreads, and we purposely instrument it so we can figure out how to keep people safe for emerging technologies like this.
Kerber and his team outfitted this 1,600 square foot house with everything you'd find in a typical American home. Then they rigged it with cameras and an array of sensors that measure heat and gases.
It's going to catch fire, it's going to release a lot of gas, and we're going to see an explosion.
Researchers removed the safety features on the battery to ensure it would fail. After 2 hours of overcharging the scooter, smoke. 17 seconds later, the explosion buckled the windows. This is what it looked like from the inside. 12 minutes later, the living area engulfed. It was too toxic for us to get into the home after the fire, but here's what it looked like inside after Kerber ran a similar test 2 weeks earlier.
It happens so fast, doesn't give people a lot of time to react.
It's not just e-scooters and bikes. These batteries power electric vehicles. They're also used in energy storage systems to store solar energy. Hunter Clare and Justin Lopez experienced the force of a lithium-ion battery fire firsthand in 2019.
Originally, we thought it was a transformer fire.
The Peoria, Arizona fire captains responded to a call at a facility containing thousands of lithium-ion batteries used to store energy for the power grid. You needed to make sure it was safe for the workers to go back into this building.
Exactly, so they could fix whatever the ultimate problem was. And as we went to leave at that point in time, it ignited, right? It blew up. I don't remember the explosion, don't remember anything from there.
The force blew both men under a chain-link fence. Lopez landed 30 feet away, Claire 70 feet.
Where are we at?
The men nearly died. Both suffered brain trauma, broken bones, and multiple burns. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good, all things considered. Just happy to be alive.
They're now sounding the alarm that these battery failures can be lethal. In statements to NBC News, the battery industry says failures are rare and the technology continues to be a safe and cost-effective way to provide reliable, clean energy to consumers. And they are collaborating with emergency response governmental agencies to increase awareness. To avoid this, buy batteries that are certified by a lab like UL or Intertech. Don't overcharge batteries or leave them charging unattended. If you see smoke from the battery, get out quickly and call 911. Best practices to safely live with this new technology. So guys, the big question is, where can you...
So just to wrap up the lithium-ion battery portion of this, this is going to become more prevalent as more and more of these devices are on the road. So it's important that you understand that they're in everything from as small as your phone to mobility devices, but this is what's powering these new electric vehicles. And they are not very easy to put out. You need copious amounts of water to put these out. Even though it's an electrical equipment, the only thing that will put these fires out is copious amounts of water. So the worst thing you can have is you see this thing smoking, you try to get it out your stairway, you try to get it to another room, and the thing explodes. The gas is super toxic. For us, it's another hazard, and the disposal of these things when we're done is actually a hazardous materials incident. So be really familiar with these lithium-ion devices, and always use factory authorized chargers. Don't charge them overnight, and don't charge damaged equipment.
And some of the cars in particular, you have to charge overnight. It takes 8 hours to charge them up.
I get it, but no, your car, I'm talking about the mobility devices. Yeah, your car's outside normally.
But next to the house, like, and with a lot of battery in it.
And you're right, you might not have a choice but charging overnight with a vehicle, but with a mobility device, these are prone to failure. There's probably more safety. It's probably less likely to overcharge or use an incompatible charger with a vehicle. With the mobility devices, people are, taking batteries from one to another. They're buying aftermarket chargers when they lose their own or they don't function anymore. So, they're putting these in their living rooms. They're putting them in their hallways, and it's a major, major problem. And as they become more prevalent, we're going to get more and more fires caused by them. Yes.
So other than we're getting rid of my kid's Segway when I get home, you mentioned some of the other devices like laptops and cell phones. Are those because now I'm just a little paranoid, I'm not gonna lie. Normally we leave these things charging overnight, like my laptop or I have a docking station that we, even here at the chamber sometimes we leave some electronic devices charging. I mean, how much, that's significant, and I can see the e-bikes and the scooters, but talk to me more about more commonly used devices like the laptops, like the cell phones and things of that nature.
So same rules apply. Use the chargers that came with the equipment. They're much smaller. There's much less potential of that type of violent explosion. They can burn, they can be overcharged, they can fail, but not to this extent. We see much less of them in computer batteries and phone batteries.
Well, remember the Galaxy S7s? There was a thing where a bunch of them were exploding with some of the Samsungs.
You're right, and I think I saw that myself where they showed videos that someone had it in their pocket and it started.
Yeah.
That was just a mini failure or a mini event that we showed with the actual mobility device. If you think about these mobility devices, you're getting a pretty decent sized battery because they last quite a long time, they hold a lot of energy. Just by their size, the phones and the computers, they hold much less energy. Less of a threat, but treat them the same. Don't have them in a pile of cloth or fabric. Don't use an incompatible charger. Don't use wires that are broken. While we're talking about wires, extension cords are a huge problem on the inside of homes. People using extension cords that are undersized for extra appliances, air conditioners. We have many, many fires that are a result of improper use of extension.
It's a big problem with the plug-in hybrids too, because you're not supposed to use extension cords because they're drawing 30 amps and they put a 10 amp extension cord in.
Anything that draws a lot of power, don't use an extension cord. Air conditioners, charging electric vehicles, appliances, really important not to use these extension cords. And we'll go into houses where they're running extension cords from room to room, different gauges of extension cords all connected together, major hazard.
And heaters too, right? And little portable heaters, right?
Yes, yes. This was more focused on summer, but now that you brought up space heaters, it's another great point.
Extension cords, using the extension cords to extend the heaters, right?
Absolutely. We'll talk about those. While you brought it up, I'm glad you did. Space heaters, they should be plugged directly into an outlet, as was brought up. And they need to be clear of any debris around them, any fabric. You can't have them too close to your couch. You shouldn't leave them unattended. It should not be a primary form of heating. It should be supplemental while you're awake and you're in the room. But the biggest problem is with those is extension cords. But to get back to what you said, the cell phones and computer batteries still a problem, still follow safety tips, but less of a problem than the mobile devices.
Is that why they started? I remember at one point they were really, it was big at one point, the suitcases that you could charge your devices in. And now those are pretty much kind of become obsolete. Is that kind of a similar reason?
Yeah, and I think you've seen, there's a couple of stories that have been in the news lately with a laptop battery on an airplane. That can be a problem. So keep your eyes open for that, but if you see a device in a home, in a stairway, make sure that people know what they're doing. The next thing we're going to talk about, especially for the summer, is porch fire safety. Due to the density of our neighborhoods, the thickly settled neighborhoods, we are predominantly wood frame and ordinary construction type multi-level tenements that have secondary means of egress is from a back porch. When they built up these areas, years and years ago, wooden porches and the secondary means of egress being out the back made a tremendous fire threat in our densely built neighborhoods. What happens with porch fires is, we'll talk about how they start and how to prevent them, but the biggest problem with porch fires is it's a tinderbox, okay? It's lumber, dry, it's ready to burn, it can go undetected because it's in the backyard, and by the time you see the smoke and the fire, it can travel from house to house and neighborhood to neighborhood rapidly. The biggest threat to neighborhood fires is porch fires. And the most common cause of a porch fire is discard of smoking materials. You throw a cigarette butt off the 3rd floor porch, it blows back into the 1st floor. Someone does that before they go to bed at night. A half hour later, the 1st floor porch is burning, and within no time, the entire 3 porches are burning. They're impeding on the structure of origin, and they're threatening the exposed buildings. Many, and I'm going to say most of the neighborhood fires where you see multiple homes involved in fire all around the Metro Boston area, listen to the news, you're going to hear the fire started on a rear porch. What can you do? You can't grill on a rear porch in the city of Chelsea. We're too dense, we're too thickly built, we have too many wooden rear porches. You have to grill on the ground level 10 feet away at least from any structure. Number 2, if you smoke, you have to have either a can full of sand where you can fully extinguish your cigarette or drop it in water. You cannot throw smoking materials off any balcony. You might think it's just a small thing, it's going to burn out in 2 minutes. It's not. It's going to start dramatic structure fires. So we can't talk too much about porch, we can't talk enough about porch fire safety. It's a major threat in any densely built inner city environment such as ours. And I'll give you one example. Last summer, August 17, 2022, right here in Chelsea, we had a 5-alarm fire which began on a rear porch, prompting a reminder from me and the State Fire Marshal on using caution with open flames with rear porches, balconies, and decks. It's a major, major problem. We had a 5-alarm fire. We had firefighters make a rescue from a ladder. Thankfully, the others were able to self-evacuate, and we were able to keep this to the structure of origin. But this was a very, very bad fire, and it's indicative of the dangers that we have in the inner city with rear porch fires. And this is an example of that. Those were all rear porches. This was a rear porch fire that took this entire structure and had damage to structures on both sides. And again, because this is in the back of the house, if you're sitting out on the front steps in the summer and just gathering late at night, you're not going to know this is there until you see it or until you smell it. And by the time you do, it's going to look like that. Like we talked about, there's no true safe way to smoke. Smoking in bed or smoking when you're drowsy or impaired is dangerous, period. But if you do smoke, you have to extinguish your smoking material in a can or a heavy object full of sand. The slogan for this is, put it out, put it all the way out every time. Never ever throw things off your balcony thinking they're just going to go out. That's basically what I have for you tonight. It's basically general home safety and some more specific summer fire safety that we wanted to get out into the community. But you asked some great questions. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Any tips for businesses?
Say that again?
Any tips for businesses besides getting your extinguishers inspected every year as you're supposed to?
Yeah, so that's a good question. For businesses, keep your extinguishers checked every year. You have to have your alarm system checked in a timely fashion. Some of them are annually, some of them are quarterly, depending on what type of business and what type of facility it's in. Always update your Knox box keys. Most businesses have a Knox box. It's a security key box that the fire department has access to, so we can get into your building during the night if there's a problem. And if you have a sprinkler system in your building, make sure that that's regularly tested as well. But today, newer construction, we have a lot of new construction that's wood frame. It's still wood frame, it's still prone to rapid fire extension, but the evolution of sprinklers has made these areas much safer. So with modern construction, and if you have sprinklers in your building, make sure that they're maintained and make sure that they're tested. Yeah.
I live in a condo and the door is especially heavy, and I was told it has to do with fire safety.
Yeah, so are you talking about your door to your, like the hallway door? Yes. So every door, interior doors provide less protection than that hallway door. The fire service rates them in hours. So a heavy door that leads from your condo or your apartment into a hallway might have a 2-hour rating, where an interior hollow core door may have a 30-minute rating. But very important, if you live in an apartment building and you live in or a condo that has a public hallway, if there is a fire in your apartment and you are exiting, to close the door behind you. So that's a really, really good question, and that's a really good safety reminder. Especially in high-rise and even mid to low-rise buildings that are several stories tall, it takes time for the fire department to get there. It takes time for us to engineer getting a hose line up to where the fire is. You can get rapid fire spread by just leaving your apartment door open as you exit.
Just like the video.
Yeah, exactly. But if you were to leave that up, not only your bedroom door, but your apartment door, the heavy door like you're saying, if you leave that open or you prop that open, cause rapid fire spread. It allows the wind in the air from the outside, if you have an open window, to just fuel that fire and push it out to the public hallway. Simply closing a door can really mean the difference between containing a fire and losing a structure.
Yeah, the door is set to close automatically. Bangs on you.
There you go. But they don't always work, and people prop them open. They put, door stops. They even in your public hallways, they always self-close. But it might get warm, and people prop them open and they shouldn't, and it causes fire spread and smoke travel through the building.
I always worry with the heavy doors because if a child's trying to get out, they probably couldn't open that door. And in the wintertime, I guess the door expands, so it's even harder to open that door.
Well, a lot of it depends on the building, but a lot of them are steel doors, so you're not going to get that expansion you would get with a heavy wood door. The safest thing is to keep those doors closed and remember to close it behind you. Anything else?
I have one general question.
Yes.
As a fire department, what services do you offer to the community at large, and how do you advertise them?
What services do we offer as a fire department? So emergency operations?
Yeah, I'm asking the question because I lived in a community one time where a lot of the homes had very tall ceilings, so they would come out and change the batteries because people really couldn't reach them.
So emergency operations, we are an all hazards fire department. We respond to fires, hazardous materials incidents, emergency medical, technical rescue, high angle rope rescue, trench rescue, vehicle extrication, and we do numerous service calls. We are an all hazards fire department. As far as fire prevention services, we have a pretty active fire prevention division that does a lot of fire safety training for kids around the schools. They do code enforcement, and we do some community tours for the Chelsea Community Schools program. As far as the changing of batteries with like high ceilings and things like that, we wouldn't we would never tell someone we won't help them out, but it's not, we don't have the man hours or the availability to have a program to just do that. If we get lots of calls or we come upon homes that don't have any smoke detection, still in this era, we still find that. We find that there may be elderly people living alone that don't have any smoke detection. We will go out there, we'll install them for free, we'll install them carbon dioxide detectors for free, we'll help out as much as we can, but for able-bodied people that have management and that have the means to do it themselves, we prefer that's their first line of defense, but if you have something that's not working in your home and you have no one to help you, call us, we will help you. All right?
Well, thank you so much. So we'd like to thank Chief Albanese for coming out and making this presentation. I have to say it was very informative for myself. I didn't know what to expect, and I'm taking away a lot of information. We definitely want to try to run this series again. We appreciate everybody for coming out, in particular our Chief of Police was always so supportive. Leo Robinson, thank you for coming out as well. We do have these series once a month on the second Wednesday of every month, and this is open to the community. So please, if it's a nice day out, if it's not a nice day out, come out and visit us and learn more information about your community. So again, thank you so much, Chief, for making it.